Hey beautiful people, how you guys doing? I was not planning to do this video. I was actually planning to do a different video this week, but I just had something that was laid on my heart, and I just wanted to take some time to share with you guys. This today, of course, is Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. Of course, great holiday in the U.S. and where we take time to reflect and honor the memory and the legacy of the great Dr. Martin Luther King and all that he's done for this country, and especially people of color, when it comes to civil rights and just so many other things. People have been inspired by him in so many different ways. But I saw something that was very disturbing to me today, and I just, I felt like I needed to say something about it. There was a video that's been shared, multiple times all around the world. Thousands of people watching it, thousands of people commenting on it, and there were two parts of the video. There was a first part of the video. I think it came out last year, either last year or the year before. It said 24 ways to die if you're black. And then they followed it up with another one that said 17 more ways to die if you're black. And basically what the video was, at least, a portion of it was different celebrities mentioning the different situations and scenarios where people of color were murdered by the police. And, I'm not going to go through the whole list of names. We have been saying these names over and over again, for quite some time now. And, it was just really, really sad to hear just basic, simple things that people were doing at the time that they were murdered by the police. And as all these different celebrities were mentioning what people were doing, someone said, sitting in a car with your kids, standing in your own backyard, going to the restroom, all these different things, simple, basic, everyday things that people were doing. And as these celebrities were mentioning these things, they would then say the name of the person that was killed in that scenario. And it was mind-boggling to me that somebody would even think to make this kind of a video, because I understand that people want to continue to bring awareness to what's happening, because it is a great injustice that's happening in this country. But why use that delivery? Why use that kind of delivery to say, these remind us how they died? I do understand that they want to call attention to the absurdness of the background behind the circumstances in which they happen, but at the end of the day, I don't think it really does much to advance what it is that we're trying to do in the fight against injustice. I mean, to make a video that says 24 ways, 17 ways to die if you're black, I mean, that doesn't do anything for me. Why would you make a video titled that? What's the purpose? I mean, there are many other ways to get that kind of a message across, because if I'm looking at the title of the video and I just, even watch a couple seconds of it, all I'm being reminded of, just objectively speaking, I mean, I don't think like this, but objectively speaking, someone's watching this video, all I'm being reminded of is just different ways that I could, potentially be murdered by the police doing everyday things. And, it's just completely, against what it is that we're actually trying to do. We're not trying to think of more ways to die. We're actually trying to think of more ways to live, more ways to rise above, more ways to, beat this corrupt system that surrounds, so many different aspects of our society, from banking to legislation to the education system to, so many different ways that these injustices affect our society and disproportionately people of color, more specifically African Americans. And I don't need to be reminded of different ways that I could potentially die if I'm black. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. How about 24 ways to fight injustice? How about 17 ways to fight injustice? How about we make a video about that? And what was really disturbing was that this girl, she made a comment that people are speaking, death curses over their lives, by, talking about these videos and saying like, oh, this is affirmative, this is the truth. And so many people were bashing her in the comments. And it was just really, really sad and tragic because this is the reality, unfortunately, for many people. Because it's happened so often, and the same result just keeps coming around. And this either, no punishment at all for the person that committed the crime, or just a very, very light punishment. Extremely disproportionate from the act of violence that they committed. And, it's obviously not fair. It's not right. We should continue to speak out against these things. But we have to be very, very careful about the means in which we do it. It's good to continue to bring awareness to these issues. But, a lot of times they don't really, as much as we feel validated in sharing the video, liking the video, commenting, you have to ask yourself, what is it really doing to advance our agenda? And the truth of the matter is that these videos don't really do much to advance our agenda of fighting injustice. What they really do is that they amplify those feelings of fear, amplify feelings of bitterness, amplify those feelings of rage and sadness that we've been feeling for such a long time now. And it's really time for us as people of color to really stop and think about our approach in how we're communicating about these things, especially because media is such a powerful tool. You don't know the type of people that you can impact. I mean, this video has gone viral. It's a viral video. And I just wonder how many people, how much change did we really make by sharing this video, by commenting on it, by bashing people who are, actually speaking the truth. And some person, they responded to the girl that said that, basically this video is about speaking death sentences over your life. So many people said, oh, this is just the truth. Well, what happened to, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free? So is this the truth? People being murdered unjustly by the police? Is that the truth now? Is that the truth that you come to accept? You really have to think about that. Because if the truth shall make you free, then, I mean, I don't see how these experiences, which is not the truth, it's not reality, just because it is something that a lot of people have experienced, doesn't make it the truth, doesn't make it reality. These are things that are constantly put in front of our faces to remind us, or to try to convince us rather, that it could happen to any one of us. I never think that this is something that can happen to me. I never think that this is something that can happen to my son. It doesn't make any sense for me to think like that, because that's not the future that I want him to have. That's not the experience I want him to have in this country. I want him to live a life that's fulfilling. I want to live him the life that's free of fear, free of anxiety, free of, the victim mentality. I know some people are not going to like this, but the truth of the matter is that these videos do perpetuate a victim mentality, and, no disrespect at all to anybody that has experienced these things firsthand, whether it be abuse or, the death of a friend or a family member. No disrespect to anybody that's gone through those experiences, because I could never know what that feels like. But at the end of the day, you'll really have to think about, what is this kind of thinking doing for you? What is it doing for those that you say that you want to protect? It doesn't really do anything. It just keeps advancing the plan of the enemy. The devil is really behind these things. I talked about this sometime last year when I did a series of videos around the time that George Floyd was murdered. We really, really have to think better about how we approach this situation, how we approach these conversations, especially amongst ourselves, and also with the people that we may, need to confront, that don't think the way that we do, that don't maybe have the same agenda that we do in fighting against injustice. We really have to think better about this, because it doesn't help me, doesn't help us to sit here and talk about this person, this thing happened to this person, and it's happened to, this, that, and the other person. It doesn't do anything. Acknowledge that it happened, but now let's seek solutions. Let's use media as the powerful tool that it is to talk about solutions, not talk about what happened, or to talk about how enraged we are at the injustice that was done. I mean, that there's a moment to stop and acknowledge that, and then you reflect, but then you move forward so that you can advance, and that your life can be better. And at the very least, the generations that are coming behind you can do better. Maybe you will never see that kind of a change in your lifetime, but maybe the next generation can. But what you do here matters. Our ancestors understood that. That's why they marched, from city to city. That's why they did the boycotts. That's why they went out and voted and did all the different things that they did. Some, sacrificed beatings and going to jail and all those different kinds of things, so that we can experience the type of liberty that we do. And of course, I don't even think that, racism itself will really totally end in our lifetime. Because as long as there are human beings in this world, there's going to be evil in the world. That's just the truth. As long as there are people walking around on this earth that don't have their lives fully committed to Jesus Christ and are worshiping Him in spirit and in truth, as long as there are people that are walking around this earth that are like that, there's going to be evil. There's going to be racism, and evil is going to manifest itself in all the different ways that it does, racism included. So we really have to understand that we're not really trying to destroy racism. I don't really think that should be the goal. I think the goal should be to fight against inequality, fight against injustice, because you can't, I think I said this during the last video that I did, when I did those series of videos last year. You can't legislate a man's heart. You can't legislate a man's mindset. If a man's going to think about something and he's fully committed to that course of thought, then he's going to act on it. So there's nothing that you can do to stop another person from hating you for whatever reason. So you have to think, at the end of the day, what is it that I'm really trying to accomplish here? We really want to accomplish, a point where we're bringing people to justice. We want our legislation to actually work for us, to be able to create the fairest society possible. You're not really trying to beat racism because you can't. You just simply cannot create a law that will really beat racism. But we can create laws and systems and put things in place, and also create a culture within our country, starting with our own families, starting with our own neighborhoods, our circle of friends that may not be aware or familiar with the pain and the anger that comes with seeing these things happen time and time again. We have a big part to play in how we can make things better. So we really have to think about what the end goal is. Is the goal to completely defeat racism? Because if that's your goal, you're going to wear yourself out. The goal needs to be to impact the culture in a positive way, in a lasting way. But these kinds of videos don't help that. And a lot of young people are seeing this and they're thinking that this is the experience that I have to have. This is the experience that I have to settle for being a black person in this country. I don't believe that that's the future that I have to settle for. I don't believe that's the future that my son has to settle for. I would never sit down to tell my son that he could possibly be murdered by the police. I would never tell him that. I love him too much to put that kind of fear in his heart. I don't want him to think that that has to be his life experience, even though it may happen to other people that look like him. It just doesn't make sense. My job as a father is to protect my son, protect my family. So the fear is the last thing that I need to be putting into his heart. And some people, come back at that and say, oh, well, you're sheltering him, you're keeping him from the truth. Well, I would just say to that, one, yes, I am sheltering him because he's a child. So it's my job as his father to shelter him, to protect him for as long as I can, as much as I can, to the best of my ability and the ability that God has given me. But I think, as far as the truth, keeping him from the truth, I don't really think that this experience is the truth. This experience is something that the devil wants you to believe is the reality and that it can never change. That's what the communication of these videos is. And even though they are, many of them are, produced and shared and, people that are actually in the videos are people of color. It doesn't matter. All these voices, and sadly, it's, very influential voices in American culture. Actors, musicians, some social activists. Unfortunately, these people have a great influence with young people. And, I would just, say to anybody that's looking to have a large platform, whether you have one now or whether you're building a large audience, really think carefully about how you talk about these issues, because people are watching you, people are listening to you, and some people will accept what it is that you say as gospel truth. So really think about the responsibility that you have when you have a large platform and using things like social media and whatnot to share your thoughts, because just because someone says something and they're popular or they're famous, that doesn't make it truth. That doesn't make it reality. And it's just their opinion. So I know the truth is not always popular. I know the truth doesn't always get shared the most, but to the extent that you can, really take time to be more responsible with the tools that you have at your disposal. And maybe you're not somebody that has a large platform. Maybe you're just, the casual social media user. You too should also be conscious of how you're using social media to perpetuate this narrative that if you're black in this country, that you always are potentially in danger of being murdered by the police unjustly. It doesn't make sense to think like that. The other day I was posting something and I said, I will always be on the positive side of the statistic. There are negative statistics out there that say, oh, this is the experience of, black men of this in this particular part of the country, or black women in this part of the country, or when it comes to jobs, or when it comes to home ownership, or different things like that. And yes, those things exist. I'm not going to deny that. But negative statistics are everywhere. They're all around us. They're not exclusive to people of color. There's negative statistics about pretty much anything you can think of. But you have to ask yourself, why can't I be on the positive side of the statistic? You say, oh, such and such percent of black males were killed in this city by police officers. Well, why do you have to be in that negative number? Why do you have to count yourself among that negative number? Why can't you count yourself among those that actually survived? Why can't you count yourself among those that never even had to have or found themselves in a confrontation with the police? Why can't you count yourself among those people? Because though that number still exists. I mean, when you give 1% of something, that means that there's another percentage that you have not considered, that you have not mentioned. So you also have to think, why can't I be counted among those that lived? Why can't I be counted among those that got the job? Why can't I be counted among those that owned the home? Why can't I be counted among those that, have a good relationship with the police in your neighborhood? Why can't you be counted among them? Why do you have to be counted among those that had a negative experience? You have to think about that. It's a choice that you make, but it starts with the way that you think. You really have to think about, how do you want to live? What kind of life experience do you want to have? If you want to settle for being among the suffering, then that's a choice that you can make. Can you control what somebody else is doing? Can you control how somebody else feels about you? Obviously not. But what I've learned is that a lot of times the way that we think, or the things that we're afraid of, we can attract those things. Whether we realize it or not, we can attract those things. And so the more negative that you think about anything, police brutality aside, the more negatively that you think about anything, the more likely it is to come onto your path. And that's just a spiritual truth. You really have to think better, think higher, and trust God with your life. Trust God with your life. I trust God with my life every single day. I couldn't imagine living my life in fear, anxiety. Every time I see police sirens in my rearview mirror, and I don't think that they're coming after me. I just don't. I don't think that, oh, if I make a wrong move, then this person's gonna pull a gun on me or do something to me. I don't think like that. I don't even consider it that's a possibility. Because I know where I'm located. I'm located in Christ. The Bible says that he that dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. What does that mean? It means that there's a place of protection for the child of God. There is a place of protection where evil cannot find you. You have to make that your everyday experience. You have to make that your consciousness. Because apart from God, you're really just leaving your life up to chance. And that's just the truth. God is our protector, is our provider. He's the one that helps us in difficult times. And he sees the hurt, he sees the pain, he sees the difficult times that people are going through, in this country especially. But he wants to be involved. But so many people have pushed God away. Don't push God away. Let him be involved. Give him the permission. God is not somebody that he's not a bully. He doesn't just force himself on you. You have to invite him to be a part of your life. You have to invite him to be your protector. You have to invite him to be your shield. You have to invite him to be your strong tower, to be your favor in situations where favor is not naturally common. We live in amongst a system where favor is not common. Favor is not guaranteed. More often than not, if just kind of left up to chance, you will have a negative experience if you're not consciously thinking about how to avoid it or how to live above it. And so God provides that for us. So I just wanted to just share that, because I think that that change in thinking, that shift in mindset, and it's just a small change. Just ask yourself, why can't I be counted among those that did not have a bad experience? And then you encourage other people to think the same way. And that gives hope. And hope is the thing that keeps people going. From the time that, Africans were slaves all the way up until now, all the different milestones that we've achieved, all the different hurdles that we've overcome, It's hope. Hope for a better tomorrow. Hope for our kids, our grandkids to have a better future. But these types of things, saying 24 ways to be killed if you're black, 17 ways to be killed if you're black, it doesn't bring hope. It does nothing. It actually destroys your hope and fills you full of fear, which is exactly what the devil wants. Because he wants you to stop fighting. He wants you to stop moving forward. He wants you to be stuck in this bubble of fear and anxiety and bitterness. And it's paralyzing. It doesn't empower you to be able to move forward. So I say to you, whether you are somebody that has a large platform, whether you're somebody that is just a casual social media person and you're just happen to be sharing these kinds of videos, think higher, think better, really understand the implications of what it is that you're being involved with when you take part or participate in this narrative that people that look like us always have to be the ones that are beaten, the ones that are always less than. You have to think about that. What are you helping to perpetuate? Are you helping to perpetuate fear, or are you helping to perpetuate hope? So always have that question in your mind when you share things like this. And I mean, it's just January, so who knows what the rest of the year has, is going to come about. Who knows? It's, I'm not saying that I'm expecting more things like this to happen, but what I'm saying is that we still live in a fallen world. So it's important to just pay attention on how you're going to respond when things like this happen that you're not happy about. You see great injustice being done. You have to think about how you're going to respond and what that response is going to do to further what it is that you actually want, which is life of joy, a life of peace, a life of freedom, a life of equality and of justice. And if what you're doing is not contributing to those things, you need to rethink your strategy. And you may have personal thoughts, personal opinions. Keep it to yourself. Talk to God about it. Pray about it. But don't blast it on social media. Don't, put that bug in other people's ear. It's not going to help. People have been doing that for so long now. For, decades. And where has it gotten us? Nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. So I just wanted to just share that with you, just encourage you to just switch your thinking, switch your mode of thinking this year. We are in the last days. Those of you that follow and understand the scripture and understand the times that we're in, we are in the last days. So this world is only going to get crazier. We're only going to see more crazy things happening in this world. So God is really our only hope. So, just continue to be light, continue to share hope, continue to encourage your brothers and sisters, especially those that have been deeply hurt by these tragic injustices, and participate in moving the ball forward in whatever way you can. You may not be a social activist, but maybe you can vote, right? You may not be the person that's organizing a campaign, but you can vote. Maybe you're not so much into politics. That's your prerogative. But, if you're a Christian, especially, you have the responsibility to pray. The Bible says we should pray for leaders and for all those that are in authority, that we may live a quiet and peaceable life in all godliness and honesty. So you can pray. There's so many different things that you can do. If you're an artist, you can share art that invokes hope, for the future. If you're a music artist, you can make songs that inspire people to see a better tomorrow. If you are a dancer, you can, create a dance routine or create a dance group that, inspires people to see a better future. There's so many different things that you can do. Use the gifts, the talents, the abilities that God has given you to help move this ball forward. Because we don't have much longer here on this earth, but while we're here, we want to be able to enjoy it to the best that we can. So this is a little bit longer than I expected, but I felt like I needed to share that. So thank you so much for watching, and definitely look out for more videos for me throughout the rest of the year. So stay hope and keep being a light. Peace.